Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Thanks for dropping by my weekly workshop, coming to you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada. For those new arrivals to our community, the weekly workshop features a compilation of my content from the last 7 days, including, but not limited to, inspiration for would-be side hustlers and full-time giggers, tool and gear reviews, and finding financial and lifestyle freedom through entrepreneurship. And also, if you prefer your content of the video variety, you can find it all at toolmantim.co. Thanks for taking the time to have a listen, and with that, let's dive into this week's edition of the Weekly Workshop. Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Monday, which means it's time for another money-making minute. And this week, as always, I've got a good one for you. I wanted to share with you guys my journey running through the DEWALT warranty process, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay guys, real quick before we dive into the meat of this video, I just wanted to let you know, if you're new here and you don't know who I am, go by toolmantim.co. That'll tell you everything you need to know about me. Find my social media links there. Sign up for the monthly newsletter so you can be filled in on all the goings on of the workshop community. And I've got a shop over there with over 100 links to Amazon products that have worked for me, solutions to problems I've run into, things that have made me money or saved me money. I've got both American and Canadian community member links there, so if you're looking for a recommendation on a product, check it out. I wanted to do an intro to this, guys, so I didn't just ramble on about, sending something back, but I wanted to show about 6 weeks, I can't remember exactly, maybe a month, 6 weeks ago, something like that. I was getting frustrated with this saw. I love this saw, like it's awesome, but it was not feeding oil. And I knew that if I didn't get it in soon, I'd be past the first year, because you guys know DEWALT has a 1-year parts and labor and a 3-year parts warranty. So if I waited beyond that, they'd fix the parts, but I'd still be on the hook for the labor, and I didn't want that. So it was time to figure out, after all the DEWALT tools I've had, this is the first one I had to send in for warranty. I had to learn a little bit about the process. So I recorded, packaging it up, all the information there, and then I recorded what came back. So I just wanted to do a little intro here, let you guys know where we're heading with this, and share with you my journey through the warranty process. So here we go. This is the first time I've had to send anything in. It's my 60-volt DEWALT brushless chainsaw. Fell in love with it when I got it. A couple of months ago, the oiler just stopped working. It will not feed oil no matter what I do, trying to clean it, whatever. So it needs to go back for warranty. I called the 800 number today, got through within 10 minutes. They wanted to verify a couple things. I couldn't find the printed date code on the saw, but I still have my original receipt. It's been less than a year, so it'll be covered parts and labor. They give me the phone number to the closest service center. For me, it's in Edmonton, about 2.5 hours away. I called them. They give me the option of shipping it to them at my cost or dropping it off in person. I'm going to ship it right now. They said that they're running about 2.5 weeks on getting warranty work done. So we'll see. I'm not going to hold them to it. It hasn't been working, so it needs to be fixed. So I'm going to box it up. They asked me to include all of my pertinent personal information plus a copy of the receipt. I got it off Amazon July 26th last year. So that'll be simple. We'll print that off. I'm going to give it a good cleanup, drain the oil out of it, and then I'm going to put the whole thing in a garbage bag before I put it in a cardboard box. So, okay, so she's all packaged up. I took the blade off, the bar off, just so it would save on space. And I wrapped I wiped it all off, drained the oil, wrapped it in a garbage bag, put it inside. Then I put the receipt with my contact information in a Ziploc bag so they can't miss it, it won't get wrecked. And one other pro tip, make sure you take off all old tracking bills, tracking, shipping labels, that kind of stuff, because sometimes in the past when I used to send in warranty work, once in a while they would grab the wrong number off a package, so either black it out or peel it off. Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Well, here we are 2 to 3 business weeks later, and I got my saw back, or what looks like my saw. Anyway, so I thought that this was the very first time that I ever did a warranty return, I thought I would take you along on the journey with how the warranty return worked for me. And guess what? I sent it out on June 17th, and on June 15th, this showed up right here. And guess what? It wasn't my saw. They sent me a brand new saw. So, I wanted to tell you a little bit about my expectations and how they were exceeded and what went on from there. But like I said, they said it would take about 3 business weeks, so around 15 business days, something like that. It took about 20 business days, not complaining whatsoever. Had to ship it there, ship it back, so that's a couple of days on either side, well within my expectations. So about 2 days before this showed up, they called me, said, hey, we're working on your saw. There's a known issue. I told you guys about the oiler issue before. It turns out that it used to be that they would constantly feed oil. Just a literal metric shit ton of oil would come out. So they put a little pin on there so that it would only squirt oil out every time the sprocket went around. And that was great, except from what he explained to me, it was basically the equivalent of welding aluminum onto cast iron, something like that, and the pins are failing left, right, and center. Now, all the new ones on the market have the new upgraded gear in them, but they have not got parts for warranty work yet. So they said it was going to be 3 to 4 months before they could get the part, and they didn't even know if they would. And they'd like to know if I wanted a brand new DEWALT chainsaw. And of course, what do you think I said? Absolutely. So here it is. I haven't even run it yet. I'm just rather excited. I just want to say, I think that DEWALT's service was incredible, above and beyond. I ended up having a nice chat with the repair guy for almost an hour on the phone. He filled me in on all kinds of stuff. Things like DEWALT just recently bought MTD, if you didn't know that. What else was there? A really cool program, at least in Canada, if you call the factory service centers and you're looking to trade in or you have worn out 18 volt, the old style battery post style batteries, they'll give you a discount on the replacement batteries or tools in the 20 volt platform. Now, I don't know if that goes for in the States as well, but it's only for factory service centers. But he said that the discount was really good, like up to 40 to 50% off regular retail, their regular retail, whatever that means. But I have to say, I thought that was rather cool. He also talked about an online program called DEWALT ServiceNet. Just Google that and you'll see they have exploded diagrams and factory manuals, everything for every power tool that DEWALT makes, owns, or has ever sold. So check that out as well. But I want to let you guys know that it appears that DEWALT stands behind their products. I have a second product out right now. We'll see how that returns, but it was my little 20 volt weed trimmer. I called them. I was a day before my 1 year, so parts and labor. And they said, don't worry, send it in, put a little note, let them know that I called them, and they said they'd take care of it. Hey, so I hope you enjoyed seeing that. It was fun for me. I still have my little 20 volt string trimmer that's out on warranty. I'll fill you guys in on social how that went, but I just thought this would be kind of a neat outside the box look at the DEWALT warranty process. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're new here and you want to see more of this, or if you have suggestions for other videos, leave them in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button, hang around, because I love it when you come out and hang out in the workshop with me. So thanks for dropping by, guys, and as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Tuesday, which means it's time for another Toolbox Tuesday review, and as always, I've got a good one for you. You guys ever been standing at the urinal, doing your business, and you look, I don't know, I always do, you look at those industrial flush systems and they always have those really weird, odd, they're called security bits, security screw bits, screws, whatever they happen to be. And you ever wonder who the hell has the parts and pieces to remove them? Well, I just picked up this DEWALT security bit system and I want to tell you all about it. All right, guys, real quick before we dive into the review, if you're new here and you want to know a little more about our community and who I am, run by toolmantim.co, you'll see everything there is to know about who I am, what I do, my social media links, and if you want to follow me on Instagram, take a minute, click that link in the description below. I'm toolman__Tim. Give me a follow, shout out to me, let me know you did, I'll follow you back, and what you get there is kind of a sneak peek at some of the new tools that showed up, some of the reviews I got going, and just my projects I work on in my handyman business. So give me a follow there over on Instagram and let me know that you did. All right, guys, so this week I got an odd one for you. If you guys follow me on Instagram and social media presences, you'll know that I've been working on siding the garage that I'm in now. and my house. I'm about halfway through my house, but on the very first wall, I was getting ready to prep it, had to take everything off the wall, things, you know, all kinds of oddball things that you don't realize there till you have to remove them. And I had an old cable box on the outside of the house. We don't even have cable in the house, haven't had cable. Cable isn't even an option in this town anymore. And I had to take it off there, and I looked, and it had one of those weird little spanner security bits in it. And I thought, you know, I run into about one of them every decade, so I should probably buy a new tool to deal with them instead of just working around it. But, you know, if you're working in a hotel like Joseph and you deal with 100 of them in a day, well, it's great to have a real expensive kit. But I went on Amazon and I started looking around to see what was available. And lo and behold, what did I find? But my favorite black and yellow brand, DEWALT, in this handy dandy carrying case with 31 pieces, And I was kind of blown away by it. It was relatively inexpensive in a nice compact, durable case. At least I think it is. I don't believe it's compatible with their other cases with the lockdown system and that kind of thing, but this is small enough you can throw it in a tool bag and you don't have to worry about it. So it's got a 4.7 star review out of 1,200 reviews over on Amazon. I paid just over 25 bucks Canadian for it at the time of shooting. You know, those prices change, but I thought that was a pretty good price. It's made in China, so the quality isn't great, but for me, who, like I said, basically maybe once a year I need a security bit, this was absolutely perfect. Now, if you're, you know, an electrician or a plumber that deals with this kind of stuff on a daily basis, go out and buy a real expensive high-end kit. But if you're looking for something just for fun, because, you know, you might be a DEWALT purist and you need to collect everything that has DEWALT on it, well, this is a way to do it. Or if you've got, just once in a while, you got to deal with them security bits, this is the way to run out and get it. Comes in a nice, durable clamshell case, 31 pieces with the ever-present magnetic bit sleeve and 30 regular bits. Now I'm going to try to zoom that in there, see if I can get a nice up-close look. You guys can see that. I don't know how that looks for you there. But what it comes with is 9 security Torx bits. If you guys know what a Torx bit is, I believe they were developed by NASA. And to make them even more rare and obscene and difficult to use, they put a pinhole in the center of them. So there's 9 of those. And what else do we have? 6 security hex bits. So if you guys know Allen keys or hex bits, same thing. Let me make sure, there are 6 standard security hex bits, and they're just an Allen key with the center drilled out as well. And there are, let's see what else we got here, 4 metric security hex bits. So again, let's see if I can zoom in on one of these bigger ones. I don't know if we'll be able to get that to focus. So that's basically a hex key with the center drilled out. So, you know, to keep prying teenagers or bad kids from going in and taking apart industrial plumbing, they put that type of stuff on there. It seems to work. 4 tri-wing bits. So let's see if I can find one of these for you here. It's basically exactly what it is. It looks like a Phillips that's lost an arm. So it's got 3 instead of 4. I remember these back in the day when I was trying to mod my Nintendo Wii back in 2008. And in order to take them apart, you needed a special tri-wing Nintendo-only bit. So they're included there as well. And we got, what else? 4 spanner bits, which are basically a slot bit that looks like some sort of weird contraption, I don't know, Igor or somebody would use to run electricity through, but it's basically a slot bit with the center dug out, so you can't remove something unless you have those. And it comes with 3 clutch type bits, which are kind of hard to explain, but they almost look like a drill bit, but they're, I don't know if you'll be able to see them or not, but they're basically a dual side winged bit. I have never run into them in the wild. I'm sure some of you have, and some of you will be like, oh, Tim, they use them for X, Y, and Z, and I use them all the time, and I see them all the time. Well, I don't, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. It's just I haven't run into them. So, of course, this is one of those products that I really don't have an opportunity to run through the ringer or test them out a whole lot. This is more of an unboxing, even though there's really not much of a box. It comes in this type of package right here. But I wanted to show you an option, an inexpensive option for security bits. I know they have multi-bit screwdrivers out there with a bunch of these on it, but I've never seen a small compact kit like this with 30 different security bits in it. It's just fun to have, you know. Sometimes I try to tinker with lock picking, something I've never learned before, but I don't know, it's like those hose bibs on the outside of industrial buildings and stuff. I love having those, the keys, the key locks for them. They're just, I don't know, it's just weird, it's fun. I like playing with that kind of stuff. I don't know, a little taboo or something. But yeah, so I just thought I would show you guys what you can get for a small little DEWALT security bit kit Not expensive. It's not going to be for a professional, but for handymen, average guys that might run into them once in a while, this is something to look at. So I thought I'd give it a recommendation, give it a test out, show you guys what it was all about. So I hope you enjoyed that. Anytime I put a DEWALT product up there, people seem to love to talk about it, see it. I always have something interesting out there for you. So if you're new and you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, stick around, introduce yourself, let us know who you are, share your knowledge, share your tips. If you got requests for products you want me to review, let me know. I'll see if I can make it work for you. I love doing that. And guys, I always appreciate you dropping by, hanging out in the shop with me. It's my favorite thing. That's why I do what I do. So guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Good morning, guys. Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Wednesday, which means it's time for another Tool Time gear review. And of course, I've got another interesting one for you this week. You guys know I love my black and yellow, and especially when it comes to the DEWALT's landscaping gear. I've been putting them through the paces. You saw me do an unboxing of this beaut here a couple of months back, and now I want to let you know what my thoughts are on this beast of a 60-volt string trimmer. Okay guys, real quick before we dive into the meat of the review, if you need to know more about who I am, run by toolmantim.co. You'll find everything there is there. The weekly audio podcast, sign up for the newsletter, my social media links, and the shop that has over 100 recommended products that have solved problems for me in my handyman business or in my real world life. So check all that out and come on back here and hit that subscribe button. All right, guys. So, you know, like I've said, I love my DEWALT gear and I love getting my hands on new DEWALT gear. And you saw my video a couple months ago unboxing this guy, putting it together, and getting rather excited like a kid at Christmas, getting ready to want to get out and play with this. Okay, so I have put this tool through its paces, both for the sake of my business and to let you guys know what I really think of it. You know, this beast has got 4.6 stars out of 1,200 reviews on Amazon, so that's nothing to shake a stick at. Now, you're probably wondering, Tim, what do you think of it? Well, let me tell you, we went out soon after we picked this up and we did an acreage, which is, you know, kind of a fancy farmyard for where people live out in the country. And we had, I want to say, around 2 hours of weed whipping. I sent my son with the small 20-volt weed trimmer that you've seen before, and I took this beast. And it comes with the 9 amp hour flex volt battery, which has tons of power. And I was able to weed whip getting in that half hour to 45 minute range on that battery. I took 2 6 amp hour batteries plus my charger with me. I went through both those 6 amp hour batteries while I was charging and then slapped the 9 amp hour back on and never finished. So this thing likes to drink its juice. It has tons of power. You know, it's not quite as powerful as a comparable still gas model, but that's not really what I got this for. I got this for the fact that no vibration, no heat, no fumes, no smell, no ear protection, lighter, easier to start, no winterizing, all of that. But was I surprised? Absolutely surprised with the power. Now, it did come with the head that I did not like on the 20 volt, but if you want to see, I have used this guy a lot and it's holding up really well. Whatever they've done to change the design, and I can't see anything different, so maybe the one I had on the 20 was a dud, but whatever they've done, this thing does not constantly feed string anymore. This thing has no problem running 0.95, the octagon shaped sharp edged string that I get from Still, and it cuts like a bugger. It has the high-low feature on it as well. And whenever I'm in doing residential work, always keep it on low. And even when I was out doing the acreage, I kept it on low almost the whole time. The only time I'll switch it up on high is if I get those really big, you know, half-inch kind of weeds that are really thick that a normal weed trimmer would just laugh at and say, nope, not touching it. This guy will go through it if you turn it up on high. So that, yeah, power-wise, it's great. The only time I had any issues was in really, really thick, really, really wet grass, and that's to be expected. But as far as performance, again, what I say about these DEWALT battery-powered landscaping gear, it's all about 90% as good as the gas. And for me, all those benefits I listed earlier about no smell, no vibration, no heat, and all that, that is worth having 90% of the performance. And as time goes on, I'm sure they're going to get better. But that's okay. I love it. This has become my go-to for around town. Big comparison to the 20 volt. This thing is balanced so much better. I think it has to do with the longer head, the way the battery compartment is shaped back here. But you can just walk around and it's just balanced perfectly so that you can just walk and keep it there and cut a really nice, really straight line. Whereas the biggest complaint most people had with a little compact 20 volt one, and if you're wondering where that is, I had to send it back for warranty after just over a year, but they just sent me a brand new one, so I'm kind of excited. Adjustable handle helps with that balance as well, but there's no fighting. You're never fighting to keep that head down. It just stays right where you want it to be all the time. I wanted to dig in and share with you because I had a few questions. People wanted to know this quick attach connection right here. So that comes like this. You guys know how that works, and we just loosen it up and then everything just pulls right out like that. I'm going to leave it in there because if I do, I'll end up making a mess and dropping it on the floor while I'm shooting this review. So basically these quick attachments, there's a ton of them on the market, and the question I got was, is it compatible with Stihl? That seemed to be the Stihl combi system. Everybody wanted to know, does it work with that? And unfortunately, no. And that is not a DEWALT problem. That seems to be a Stihl problem. Stihl, Milwaukee, Ego, Echo, those four all decided to build their own proprietary systems. However, there is a very widely adopted, almost universal system for quick attachments on the market. And I got to read them to you because I got too many, but Ryobi, Trimmer Plus, Greenworks, Poulan, Craftsman, Troy-Bilt, Remington, Husqvarna, and a bunch of other no-name companies. They all use the same attachment, which is 100% compatible with DEWALT. Now, there's a few nice attachments that DEWALT have. The one I don't understand is the blower attachment. I can't imagine hooking up a blower to one of these, but that's just neither here nor there. But they have an edger and they have a heavy-duty brush cutter, and those are the first two on my list. But one that they do not have is a sidewalk brush. And you guys might say, well, what in the heck do you need one of them for? They seem useless. But for me, a couple times a year, we get this frost when it warms up. It doesn't even have to get above zero, but when it warms up here and it's been really cold for a while, it kind of pulls this tiny, tiny frost up. Blowers won't take care of it. It's too much for a shovel. You try to push it off and it will just turn it to ice. But a sidewalk brush is perfect for that. And Ryobi makes one of them. Stocked through Home Depot, but you can get it online in a lot of places. And it looks like it would work really, really well. So that will be a fall review. Keep an eye out for that because I'm going to pick up the Ryobi sidewalk brush to run it through its paces and see how well this thing will power it too, because that's a pretty big brush to be pushing. So it'll be interesting to see how well this beast holds up to that. I think it's up to the challenge, but for what it's worth, I'm going to run it through just to see. So after a couple of months of this guy, what are my thoughts on it? Where do I end up with it? Well, number one, it is expensive. It was over 400 bucks Canadian with the charger and the 9 amp hour battery. So it's an investment. It's not going to be for every homeowner, but if you do have an acreage, more than just a normal postage stamp lot, like I've always said, if you just have a residential lot, the tiny 20 volt will be good for you for years. If you've got more than that you need to do, this 60 volt is something to look at, especially if you're interested in adding some attachments to it. The 9 amp hour battery was awesome to get because those are, I want to say they're close to a couple $100 all by themselves. So that, anytime you can buy the package, you're always going to get better value when you get an extra charger and a battery thrown in for not a whole heck of a lot more than the tool. Now, it does like to drink its juice, so buy the biggest, most expensive, the highest capacity amp hour batteries you can get. I'm looking at getting a couple of the 12 amp hour batteries because I think they would be even better for this. If I had two of them, I could probably, nearly charge one while I run the other one out. But, get as much, and this is a flex volt tool, which I'm not sure if I mentioned or not, which means it only takes the 60 volt flex volt batteries. So I've only got 3 of them at the moment, 1 9 and 2 6s, but they have been enough to get me by and make this work. I mean, normally, how often do you weed whip more than, we did 14 lawns the other day, and I did all 14 on the 1 9 amp hour battery. So that lets you know how well that holds up. But if you're out doing a lot of like rural acreage style weed whipping, then you'd want a couple of them. So that's the biggest expense is the batteries. But once you have them, again, They're compatible with everything. They work in my chainsaw. Well, the two that I have right now is this and my chainsaw, but they also work on all the previously, the smaller 20 volt platforms. So you get big capacity that you can run on your tools. So do I love it? Absolutely. Is it for everybody? Not at all. If you're looking for a higher end, more well-balanced, more powerful weed whipper, then this is the guy to go. If you're looking for an inexpensive one just to do a little bit of trimming around the yard every weekend in a suburban urban area, probably the 20 volt was worth it. But for me, in my business, I have my suspicions this one's going to last a lot longer than the 20 volt did. So we'll see. I'll come back in a year, give you my thoughts and see if I'm still real happy with it, but I love it. Everything about it. The nice heavy rubber duty grip, the easy flip paddle for the switch there, the high-low settings, which I rave about all the time, which I thought would be an absolute throwaway joke, and they absolutely were way better. But after using this, doing acreages, doing around the town quite a few times, going out and doing oil pad lease, I'm happy with it. It works, it's quiet, and it just is a beast of a weed whipper. Maybe even we will All right, guys, so let me know what battery platform you use, what kind of experiences you've had with some of this landscaping gear. I know I enjoy it. I brag about it a lot. I just love talking about DEWALT landscaping gear. But if you're using Milwaukee, Makita, any of that stuff, just let me know. Throw it in the comments. Or if you've had good, bad, or ugly experiences with this 60 volt, I'd like to hear about that as well. And if you're new here and you want to hang around and find out more about our community, hit that subscribe button, interact, share your knowledge, give me video ideas that we can put together and create some really cool stuff. So guys, that's it for me for this week. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Saturday, which means it's time for another edition of the Weekend Workshop, my favorite segment of the week. And this week I've got a good video for you, and this was 100% user suggested. A little while ago I got a comment on YouTube and I was asked, Tim, have you ever thought about putting together a video talking about putting together a blackout kit or a power outage, power emergency kit? And I thought, it's something I do on a regular basis. I'm sure there's people out there that haven't given a whole lot of thought to it. And I'll bet most of my viewers do this sort of thing already, but there's always something we can learn from one another. So this week I want to tell you or share with you the essentials of putting together a power outage kit. All right, guys, real quick before we dive in, if you want to know more about who I am, toolmantim.co. That's toolmantim.co. You'll find links there to the podcast, weekly podcast, monthly newsletter, and the shop, where I have Amazon links to recommended products of over 100 things, broke down into categories, products I've tested, products I've used, things that have worked for me. There's even a preparedness section over there with things like some of the products you're going to see in this video, some of the things I use in my own personal blackout bag, box, whatever you want to call it. Okay, guys, so let's dive into this week's subject. And like I said, this was community suggested, and I was all about putting together a blackout bag video. And if you guys think, what in the hell is a blackout bag? Well, it could be a power emergency kit. It could be what your grandmother used to do, where she kept a few matches and a couple of candles in the drawer in the kitchen just in case the power went out. But for us, we try to be a little bit more serious about putting together, items and things that'll help you in the short term or the long term when the power goes out. And this is probably one of the most common, I don't even know if we'd call it disasters, but this is one of the most common situations that we as, individuals or families are going to face. And that is, waking up in the middle of the night and the power's out. What do we do? So it's nice to have a few items put together that are going to make your life just a little bit easier. And so honestly, there's really two types of blackout bags. The first one is the one that I keep. And then, so that one is something that'll get you by for 3 or 4 hours. If it's a kind of a warmish summer, spring day, and you're like, I don't need to go out and hook up my generator just yet. The stuff in the freezer is going to be fine for half a day to a day. No problems there at all. I just need enough put together to get me by so that we can be relatively comfortable for 3 or 4 hours. And then I can decide if it's time to haul my big old generator out and run the whole house so the kids can have Netflix while, the power's out everywhere else. So that's the first one. It's just a small, very short-term blackout bag. And then there's the more substantial one, and that is, what emergency measures organizations and everybody say that you should prepare for 72 hours, 3 days. And that's the bare minimum, I think. And in that case, that's for people that maybe don't have a generator or some form of backup power. And so in that case, you're going to build a more robust blackout kit, something that's going to be able to, get you by and be more than just comfortable, be able to, survive and thrive for the next 3 days with no power in your house. So I'm going to first talk about the 3-hour blackout kit, and then I'll talk about a bigger, more substantial 3-day blackout kit. Okay, like I said, the first kit is that 3-hour blackout kit. I just call it 3 hours, 3 and 3. It's nice symmetry there, right? But so the 3-hour bare minimum basic blackout kit. And this is the type of thing that, number one, if it's nice out and you want to lay in bed and think, you know what, I'm good. We don't need to set up the generator yet. This will get you by. Or number two, if it's real shitty outside, real gross weather, all of that, and you need to get your generator up and running, this is the type of stuff you're going to need in the interim to, for the family to be semi-comfortable and for you to be able to safely get out, start your generator, and get everything hooked up. So what do I keep in my, I call it my nightstand power outage kit, because honestly, the most important time to have these power outage items is going to be when it's dark outside. If it's daylight, you got a lot more time to put things together. And it seems like a lot of times the power, when it goes out unexpectedly, is when you're in bed at night. So if you wake up, so a lot of these items, not everything, but a lot of these I just keep in the top drawer of my nightstand table. But the most important part of putting together a blackout kit is having an area to collect them in. Ideally, a box or a crate or a Rubbermaid, but if not, a single drawer where everybody in the family knows they can find it. So for us, if you're not into keeping it in a drawer like we are, there's this right here. This is my first aid kit, which I'll do another video on down the road. But what I picked up for that is a small, compact Rubbermaid storage container with locking handles. But the most important part, you see that blue seal all the way around? That is a waterproof rubber seal. When that clamps down, water can't get in there, or at least in theory, and it hasn't yet. So I've got 2 of these to put together my entire first aid kit. I'll talk about that another day. I'm no first aid expert, but I've managed to put together a robust first aid kit for my family. So have something like this to put everything in, or a drawer, and then teach the family how to use everything that's in the kit and show them where it is. So what do you need? Well, you wake up in the middle of the night, and of course, you're going to need flashlights. And I like this one here. It's the Coast. It's 610 lumens. Anything you see in here, if it's something I reviewed or I've liked before, I'll put links to the Amazon product description below, just so you can check it out if you're interested. But this is my go-to headlamp. I keep a few headlamps around. My kids love them. They think it's fun. They can go upstairs and hang around. When we have long-term power outages for a while and it was still nice out, I'd give them each a headlamp and they'd just be able to go around. But this is really important. I love flashlights, handheld flashlights. Yes, your phone has a flashlight. Yes, it'll work. You don't want to use your phone more than you have to in a power outage, of course. But I like this because it leaves your hands free. And I could put it on and look like a dorky miner, but you guys get the hint. But, the brighter, the better. And this guy has treated me really well. So you need some sort of flashlight. That's the first thing, obviously. And then, of course, what good's a flashlight if you don't have batteries? Now this is my battery organizer. I did a video on it before. I'll do an upgraded one down the road. You don't need something this spectacular, but make sure that you have a couple of packs of fresh batteries and make sure that they're the right size to fit your flashlight because of course, if you need to get your generator started, you got to have some light to see or you're going to have a bad time. So batteries, a flashlight, now, the next thing, information's important. So you might want to find out, hey, what's going on? And all of these items are going to go in the long-term kit as well, but just for the short term. So some sort of pocket radio. I mean, it's kind of funny, but if you have access to the internet or, that sort of thing, Facebook's going to be a way better source for local information. But if the internet's down, 3G, 4G, 5G, whatever's all down, the only place you're going to be able to turn, and you may not even be able to do that, but will be local AM/FM radio. So you've got that, a radio in there. I may never use that radio, but it's there just in case. I test it once a year. Don't keep the batteries in it just in case something leaks, but you got to have information if there's a power outage. But that could be more of a long-term thing, but I like to keep it in my short-term 3 to 4 hour thing as well. Now, here's the next one. And this is a real short-term, and this is a fire extinguisher, or I like the fire spray, simply because it's small, anybody can use it, and you can just throw it in a bag and go. And of course, when there's power outages, a lot of times you're going to have power surges. You'll get, say, a tree limb on the power lines, it's going to go bzz, 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 and sometimes it can cause things to overload and cause small fires. And if you're going to have a fire because of a power outage, it's going to happen right after or soon after the power outage. So having some way to fight the fire works really well. I absolutely love this First Alert fire spray. We've actually literally used it a bunch of times on the barbecue, and it just really works. I checked it. It's good for electrical fires as well. So having a couple of cans of this in a 3 to 4 hour blackout bag, not a bad idea whatsoever. A couple other quick things. Of course, a battery pack. This is my Anker 20,000 battery pack, battery bank. This gives you something because, of course, your phone is going to want it. You're going to go on it, and usually, originally, when a power first goes out, the first thing you do is check your phone, and then you're going to be on it for a while because you're thinking, it's not going to be a long-term outage. But then all of a sudden, maybe you didn't plug your phone in last night, and you wake up in the middle of the night and your phone's down to 10%, and now you're thinking, what do I do? Well, one of these. You may not need it, but throw one of them in there. Just buy a cheap one if you have to. But I like having one that doubles as something I can travel with. Everything in here is something I use on a fairly regular basis for the most part. But a good battery bank is definitely essential to have in a blackout bag. Some candles, and again, you guys know that I love things that 2 is 1, 1 is none, and I love products that have multiple uses. So, I never have a shortage of candles in my house because my wife loves candles. We always have some. You guys know also a lighter or some sort of source to light it with. This is my, I call it a Buy It for Life barbecue lighter. It's not quite, but you'll see the link below. This is my go-to. We always have a bunch of these around as well. But even if the power's outage, the power's out. It doesn't mean your house doesn't have to smell like Santa's cookies. Oh, that's a good one. I like that. Anyway, so some kind of candles and some way to light them is important as well. So if just in case those batteries you thought were good that you put in there for your flashlight and they weren't, you got backup. Plus, it smells good to have Santa's cookies around. And that's just about all that goes in there. A couple more little things. And of course, if your data and everything's down, or say your phone died and you want to have emergency contact information written down, laminated, something on a little card. Basically for me, it's just the power outage line. I don't know, sometimes it makes you feel like you're doing something by being able to call it, and they'll tell you, power will be resumed within 3 to 33 hours, that kind of thing, but it's good. Or maybe nobody's reported it yet and you want to call in and report the power outage, but have emergency contact numbers written down, because it's great to rely on our phones and they're there and ready almost all the time, but having a physical backup on hand of just that little bit of information is going to help you. And then the last most important thing of putting together a 3 hour blackout bag is training. Is showing your kids, I could be away working somewhere, or, maybe I don't know. Anyway, whatever you do, maybe you work away and you want to make sure your family knows, but you want to make sure your wife or your husband or your significant other knows where the stuff is, knows how to use it, knows why to use it, knows when not to use it. And, maybe do a fake power outage with your kids a couple times. Say, okay, I want you to go down, get that headlamp on, and turn it on. That might be all it is. Or, I want you guys to know where I keep these in the house, which they do. I want you to know how to use it, which if you've seen my video, they know how to use the fire spray. Just those simple little things. And then we can move into the long-term blackout bag. So this is basically all I keep for a blackout bag. And it's basically enough to get me by for 3 to 4 hours while I lay in bed and think, a hot coffee would be nice. I want to hook up the generator. Or it's just a short one. The power's nice, or the weather's nice. And I think, this is all I need. So this is the basic. This is what I normally keep. Now, if you are putting together a 3-day, 72-hour emergency kind of kit and plan for your house, and it doesn't include some form of backup power like a generator, then you really need to go into a longer term, bigger, what I call 3-day blackout bag. So let's talk about what we might want to throw into that. would you be dealing with differently in a 3-day power outage as opposed to a 3-hour power outage? Well, if you're laying in bed and you're a little hungry in 3 hours, not a big deal. After 3 days, you need a way to cook food, open food, deal with food. You need a way to stay hydrated, all of that. So it's, keep some bottled water on hand, keep some big jugs of water on hand, have a water filter so you can filter water if need be, that kind of stuff. But you need to have enough water on hand for 3 days. You need to have a can opener to open up shelf-stable foods because that's going to be important. Now, are we going to just eat things cold or are we going to heat them up? Possibly even just a little camp stove, but that's getting a little bit beyond. But for 3 days, a can opener with a bunch of shelf-stable food and some bottled water, that's going to get you by. So that's one thing. You definitely want to have a can opener and some bottled water stashed aside for a power outage. And if you don't, well, maybe we can't be friends, but we can all learn, right? A few other things, card games, because you're going to want to pass the time. You're not going to have power to turn on Netflix or DVDs or whatever it happens to be. So 2 or 3 card games is fun. We like Uno and Skippo and games like that. Just throw them in your little power outage box, or better yet, have a weekly or monthly family night. I'm talking to myself here because we don't do that often enough, but play cards, have something that passes the time, or maybe some board games, whatever, but you're going to need some form of entertainment in a 3-day blackout plan/bag. There's another one that not everybody thinks about, cash on hand, but I would say cash with small bills. Because I've noticed in my area over the last while, there's been a lot of places that aren't taking hundreds or even some aren't taking 50s anymore. And if the power's out, bank machines aren't going to work, places aren't going to be able to take your debit card or your credit card to make payments, so you're going to need to have something on hand that's going to allow you to be able to go to the store, because in a 3-day outage, there's probably going to be something you absolutely need. I'd say don't go out if you don't have to, but if you have to, have cash on hand. How much? Well, that depends. It really does, but even $100 of small bills is going to get you by. Now, more than that is ideal, but we won't get into all that today, but some cash on hand, and honestly in 20s, 10s, and 5s, because a lot of places might not have cash to break big bills, and you don't want to draw unnecessary attention to yourself, but mainly, a lot of places just don't want to take the big bills anymore, and they'll use a power outage to say, sorry, not going to happen. So, 20s, 10s, and 5s, keep some of that on hand, that's important. Warm clothes, maybe some clothes you don't wear all the time, but you need, just throw them in there as well, or at least have access to them. Now, if you're at home, they're all in your closet or cupboard, that's great. But if this is something you're trying to build to be a little more portable, maybe throw in an old sweater, an old pair of sweatpants, an old shirt, some underwear. Don't forget the ladies' stuff. Put it all in there, and you're good to go. So if it's something you have to grab and go, good. But if it just happens to be a power outage and you need some extra layers, you can throw those on as well. Now, here's a couple other things you might need to think about. And this is a little bit outside the scope of a blackout bag, but know the location of emergency shelters in your area and also have an evacuation plan. So if things get really bad and you need to go away and stay in a hotel somewhere, you can absolutely do it. I have a plan for the 3 most common possible natural disasters in my area, and I have 3 routes to get away from each one if we need it, and I have ideas of where we'll go, where we'll stay if we need to do that. So you don't have to go that crazy, or that, not crazy, but that in depth with what you're doing. You just need to know, where can I go if this power outage lasts too long and I can't handle it? We just can't. We can't get by anymore. We need to go. So know where your emergency shelters are and have an evacuation plan just in case things get worse than you think they might be gonna. Have some moving blankets on hand. So, I don't know if you guys can see this. I use a moving blanket as the cover for my table here where I shoot my videos. They're indispensable. I actually use them for moving as well. We just moved them. I moved a lady recently and used them. But what's great about them is throw them over as many as you have. Quilts, comforters, moving blankets, throw them over your freezer, even your fridge if you have to. And it will help extend the life of the stuff that's in there. It'll help keep it frozen. It'll help keep it at least edible for a little bit longer. And just don't open your damn freezer, but keep it wrapped in blankets. It's going to make a big difference for you. Keep your car tank full. Now you might be saying, well, this isn't a blackout bag, Tim, but this is all part of, a nice 3-day blackout bag / plan. But make sure that you never let your car fuel tank go below half a tank. It took me a lot of years to realize that it doesn't cost any more money to keep a gas tank full than it does to let it go to empty. So if you keep it full or never go below half a tank, you've always got at least the range of a half a tank to get you by, to get you away if the emergency is too long. Something else that can be important, especially in a power outage, before you do, make sure you have all of your important documents and that sort of thing backed up to a flash drive, or encrypt them and throw them up on Google Drive, whatever you need. But make sure you have access to those, because sometimes things happen and you're like, oh, we got to go, and you don't have that information. So as long as you have at least electronic copies, it's better than having nothing whatsoever. Another thing that's rather important in a blackout kit or planning for a blackout kit is a battery-powered CO2 monitor. A lot of people have the plug-in style, and some are backup powered, but if you don't, pick one of those up so that if you're cooking inside, you got candles burning, 100 different things, you're trying to heat the place, you know you're safe. That is important. Get one of those, test it every so often, throw it in your bag if you need to, or in your blackout kit, so that you know, okay, I'm good. All right, so I hope that helps. That's kind of the basic bare necessities. I will bet I forgot 100 things, but then people are going to say, well, yeah, but what do I do if my food's going to go bad? And anyway, so this is to get you by for 3 days. The stuff in your freezer, if you wrap it with blankets, is probably not going to go bad in 3 days. Now, if it's cold outside, take the stuff from your fridge and put it outdoors in a snowbank. My dad always used to love to do that. On Christmas, he'd take the pop, and there's no room in the fridge. He's like, guess what, Tim? I'm going to put the pop out in the snowbank, and it's going to stay cold. Yeah, that's great. I love that. So if your fridge is warming up and you're trying to keep your house warm, don't let your food spoil in your fridge simply because you didn't put it outside in a snowbank. And if it's nice out and it's too hot and you're worried about stuff going off in the fridge, whatever you can cook, take it out and grill it on your barbecue. Whatever it is, there's always solutions. And of course, if you're going into 3, 4, 5 days, start pulling out that meat out of your deep freeze and start cooking it. But you're good for a few days between the insulation and wrapping your blankets. And then, you might look at getting a small automotive inverter, something big enough you can plug into your car, and then you can run your freezer once in a while and your fridge once in a while. But that is for another day to talk about for another video. So I hope you guys liked this look into what I put together for a blackout bag, how I handle power outages, and I hope you learned something from it. I know I learned things just by putting these videos together, and I know you guys will tell me the things I forgot, or maybe suggestions that I could add to it to improve it, or maybe things that you've come across, tips or tricks or whatever. Or maybe you could tell us a story about when you planned for a power outage and you failed miserably. I love hearing that. And if you're new here, hit the subscribe button, stick around, become part of our community, let us know who you are, share your knowledge with us, and let's grow together, guys. So I appreciate you dropping by. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.
Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Sunday night, which means it's time for another Talking Tools live stream, and we're trying something a little bit different this week. We are streaming directly from the desk just in case I ran into any problems. I'm trying the whole new interface here on the desktop software, and well, we will see. The video looks good. If you guys pop in here and you have any audio issues, let me know. Like I said, this is all kind of a brand new system for me tonight. I always say the only way to get better is to be uncomfortable and to grow, and that's exactly what I am doing. I'm trying to up the game for you guys so that you get a little better quality out of the live streams. I've got some really good content for you this week, but I wanted to try on the live stream. We've got some good changes coming to it. You'll find out down the road a little bit about it, but this week, once again, is going to be the Q&A social media roundup. So I might as well dig right in. If you pop in, say hello in the comments, the live chat on the side there, guys. I'd love to hear from you. So this week, and just let me know again if the sound's working, all of that for you. So this week, first question comes on Facebook, and it's from Jeremiah. He says, hey, Tim, I wanted your input. I'm wondering if I can tackle a DIY sheet vinyl linoleum install. Have you ever done it? I've done vinyl plank before, but not sheet vinyl. It looks simple enough, but I have a lot of half walls, appliance bays, and bathrooms to do. So honestly, If you ask my wife, she'll always tell you, "Hey, John, nice to see you. Hi, Hireth." I know who that is. She said, "Hey, Dad." So as far as vinyl goes, if you ask my wife, she'll tell you I get nervous when I'm starting a new task, learning a new project. And vinyl flooring was exactly the same thing. So one thing I can say is if you can find yourself somebody that can give you a little bit of hands-on experience, let you help them a little bit with the job, it will go a long way. What I did was there's a local couple here. They just moved away. We took over all their property management for them. I ended on a flooring job. Can I help with it? And of course, he said, absolutely. I'd love some free labor. So I said, yeah, I'd love to step in and help. Anyway, so he showed me the ins and the outs of it. So if you can find someone who will let you do it with them the first time, great. But that being said, don't be too intimidated by laying down vinyl flooring. It's really nowhere near as bad as you might think it is. So I'll tell you what I've learned. First off, surface prep is the absolute number one thing that you need to do. Make sure the floor is clean. Make sure any old debris is scraped up. Remove your old flooring, that sort of thing. If you need to, you can always use a thin set top coat that you can put down. You can buy that. But honestly, as long as it's good and there's no dirt, no loose material on there, you're going to be good. Start with a square room. That if you can start with something simple, I know yours sounds a little more difficult, Jeremiah, but if you can start in a square area, it's going to make your life a lot better. Buy more than you need, buy a couple of feet either way, and then cut it kind of roughly, say 6 to 8 inches wider than the entire room. Roll it down, and then take your time cutting the flooring all the way around. Sorry for hitting the mic, guys. And just trim a little bit at a time, because you can always trim a little more off, but you can't, how do you want to put it? Put laminate floor or vinyl flooring back once you've cut it off. So just take your time and just trim a little bit at a time as you go around, and then get it to the point where you've got it trimmed all the way really good. You got it fit nice in place. Then roll 1/2 to 3/4 of it back. Trowel out your adhesive, then let it sit in the air for a bit, let it get sticky and tacky and that sort of stuff, then roll it back down. Then do the other side, roll it up, then roll it back down, and then roll the whole flooring out and then let it set. You can do it, I promise. Watch a bunch of videos on YouTube University. That's how I do all of these things when I learn myself. But get started with that and then get going from there. It takes time. I sent Jeremiah a video of one I did. My wife and I did her office for her daycare. It turned out incredible. I love doing it now. And in most ways, hey, Ted, nice to see you. In most ways, it's actually faster than, say, vinyl plank or even laminate. It goes down so quick. It's just getting over that initial, I'm nervous, it's something new, all of that. So once you take the steps, you get comfortable, you start going, all the better. All right, so the next question I had this week came from Ken over on YouTube, and it was about the Gen Tent review I did a couple of weeks back. You guys seen that? The little enclosure kind of weather protector for generators. He wanted to know, he had a friend that was looking at the Gen Tent, wanted to know if you could use the pole start with it installed. So I wasn't 100% sure. I took a lot of video, a lot of pictures, and it didn't show me in all those pictures. So I went back and installed it. And sure enough, down on the side, you've got lots of room. It's a little tight, but you've got lots of room to give it a good pull. So if it wasn't really apparent in the review video, the front, it has an apron that comes down to cover all of your electrical connections, but on the sides, it's wide open to allow air in. So that's where it allows you to get in and use the pull cord. So yeah, it leaves lots of room. Hopefully you don't have to pull on a generator more than you need to, because it's just going to give you a good case of tennis elbow. But honestly, yes, those Gen Tents, they leave enough room in there to get in and use the pull start. So in case anybody was wondering about that. Now, I have been asked this one at least 6 times this week. I know you guys have asked me a bunch of times. I'm going to do a video on it. Just haven't done it yet. But I literally had, even Jack asked me in the, when you get a little bit of time to banter with the host on the podcast before you go live, he even asked me, make sure you post that again this week about the replacement head for the DEWALT trimmers, because people ask all the time. So once again, the head model numbers that will replace, that work really well, the steel, however you pronounce it, 25-2, and the Husqvarna T35. I've been running the steel myself. It works great. It actually works incredibly well. And the Husqvarna has come highly recommended to me from a bunch of different landscapers. So those are the two. If you're looking for a replacement head, use one of them. They're awesome. They work great. I just picked up another still. I've got another one coming. And as soon as the brand new one gets here, I'm going to do an install video on it so that I can share with you. And I'll just knock it out of the park right away and put it up because everybody seems to want to see it. All right. So the next question is from Chris over on YouTube. He says, "Hey, love your channel. I was wondering if you can help me out. I'm trying to make a sound dampening box for my Furman Costco generator. I'm planning to use Roxol 2-inch mineral wool foil backed insulation. Also, it's going to use an exhaust fan and an air intake vent for cooling. Would this be good to use instead of those expensive soundboards? Thanks." And keep up the good work in your channel. Well, flattery is always great, but no, thanks for the kind words. But so absolutely, yes, this stuff will work. I did a ton of reading to answer this question for him because I was pretty sure, but it's been a long time since I sold insulation. But as far as the Roxol, it's actually a little better soundproofing than your typical fiberglass type insulation. I don't know if it has to do with the base that it's made out of, the fact that it's made out of rock or whatever, but overall it has a slightly better sound dampening, what do you want to call it, level or whatever rating than your typical pink insulation. Also, a couple other tips: layer it. So if you're going to use a couple layers, go one this way, or layer different types of insulation. So if you have, say, some sort of panel that you want to put in there that's going to help shield the heat, even though this has a foil built in, layering ends up making the soundproofing better. It's like putting two products together gives you a higher soundproofing amount than if you used each one individually. So I hope that helps. But yeah, so if anybody else is looking at building one of those enclosures for your generator, that Roxol, he sent me some links for on Amazon. It's only 2 inches thick, so you don't have a ton of room, a ton of thickness, especially in those enclosed Rubbermaid containers. But it looks like that would be a pretty darn good, cost-effective, as far as thickness and soundproofing for cost. Looks like that'll be one of the ways to go for sure. All right, the next one, G Hearts or Geharts on Float, and they wanted to know what is the best way to cut Corian countertop. Replaced a slide-in stove and need to trim off 3/4 off the back of the opening so the new one fits in properly. And, it's one of those things, if you've dealt with Corian before, and I haven't seen Joseph in here yet, but I can guarantee you he has more experience with Corian than I have. I've cut it a couple of times, used to sell the stuff a lot, deal with the salespeople. But honestly, with most materials and Corian especially, there's really 3 things you can do. A fine finish blade with as many carbide teeth as you can get. 80 or more is ideal. Then clamp a straight edge on. Something like, you can use anything, but a level works good, a board, and then just use your Irwin quick release clamp, something like that, so that you have a good straight edge. Stop hitting the mic, Tim. So you have a good straight edge when you're making that line. And then number 3, put down painter's tape and write your line right through the middle of that. And then cut through it and cut it just like you'd normally cut wood using your circular saw or whatever you happen to have on hand. But Corian, it's expensive, it's durable, it's tough, it's hard, but you can basically cut it the same way you'd cut with wood as long as you have a nice, 80 carbide tooth or more finish blade will work great. Get yourself a good straight edge and then put tape down and cut through the line, and it's going to work for you. So what do we got next? The Lots project over on Float. Some of the usernames on Float are awesome. They're one of those things. I enjoy them. But they asked me, they'd seen I'd posted the new electric lockpick that I'd picked up, and they wanted to know, does it work the same as those homemade lockpicks that are made out of electric toothbrushes? And the long and the short is yes, basically. Tom recommended this electric lockpick to me, and by electric, it's really battery powered, but it looks like it's going to work really well. But it's basically just, it's like a souped up electric toothbrush, and you just hit the button and it vibrates and it has the little pick and rake that you stick into it. You decide on which thickness, which size teeth you're going to need, stick that in the lock, and then, yeah, you vibrate it. And while you do, you have a little tension wrench in there, and it basically speeds up picking the lock. It makes it idiot proof from what I can tell. But yeah, it's basically, a Chinese factory made version of the electric toothbrush lock pick. So yeah, I'm looking forward to giving it a test. I don't think I have any bank properties coming up anytime soon that I'm going to have to do that on, but I'm definitely going to get it out, do some testing on it, and we'll see how it goes. But you guys will probably see a preview video first, and I'll get a tool time review on it out before too long, because if anybody else has struggled with drilling out locks like I have, I've ended up wasting too much time and breaking too many good drill bits on one of those electric lock pick, or on one of those locks that I could be using an electric lock pick on. So Brandon Ham over on MeWe, he wanted an update on my 100-gallon fuel storage tank. So if you guys have been following me on social, I've been talking about that 100-gallon fuel storage tank, and I'm kind of in a bit of a holding pattern with it right now. It worked really well. I got it sanded down, painted, installed, leak-free, washed out, filled up with fuel, and I got that far. And it works really well. But even though I pressure washed the hell out of the damn thing, I still ended up with some gunk in the bottom. I thought, okay, my filter's going to catch it. But my filter didn't catch it because my filter was a water filter, not a sediment filter. So I had to order one of those, because when I filled up my zero turn with the gas out of the tank, it ended up clogging up my fuel line and caused me a bad day, made me swear a little bit, that kind of stuff. So that was the first issue I had. That's definitely easily fixable. So that's coming up. The second one's a bit more of maybe a concern or an issue, but on the really hot days, I get a little bit of fumes in there. I don't like the smell, and I don't like the idea of having some gas fumes in the garage itself. So I need to build in, excuse me, some, I don't know how you want to, but just basically a vent, because the problem is, number one, the caps are all really tight and really, well, they vent. Basically, you tighten them down, but they always blow off the excess, and it's been really hot and it's been driving me nuts. In the cold weather, it won't be an issue, but I want to make sure it's set up for the warmth next year. So I'm either going to move it into my sea can or leave it in the garage and build a permanent vent, basically. Ted says I'm looking good. Thanks. My wife thinks so too, but just kidding, Ted. Thank you. Sounding good too. So that makes me really happy. This Fifine podcast style mic, this is the one I used for recording the segments for the survival podcast that I do on the Expert Council. I love the sound coming out of it. This was a big step getting this whole setup going. I'm glad that I did it, because now I can be right here at the desktop when I'm streaming. I've got might as well tell you about it now anyway. I got a black background coming soon, so you won't have to look like I'm on a green screen trying to fade out my background or anything. So that'll be good. But that's going to be a big step. Then I'll be able to get my logo up here somewhere. I'm going to be using the StreamYard software coming up real soon. So you'll actually, I was just going to point at my screen. You can't see that. Actually, right here somewhere, there'll be a logo. So you'll be able to see my Toolman Tim logo. That's going to be really cool. But I'm excited. It's fun. You always feel like a kid the first day of kindergarten when you're starting some, making big changes and big steps, because it's always a little uncomfortable and there's always a chance you're going to screw something up, but that's okay. So that was the end of the questions. I had a whole bunch of recommendations, a bunch of tips sent in from you guys in the last couple of weeks too. So I thought I'd share some of that stuff with you. Last week, out of the video on my rechargeable battery setup, Chicken Hawk sent me a message there over on MeWe, and he was saying that the rechargeables, the EBL rechargeables that he gets on Amazon, are a top-notch, I don't want to say knockoff, but a good comparison brand. So I'm going to grab some of them and include them in my rechargeable showdown video. But if anybody's looking, are you looking for a good quality compared to price, EBL rechargeables off of Amazon are a really good one. So Embedded Fabrication, that's the username. So Embedded Fabrication on YouTube made a comment on one of the videos, and I wanted to share this idea with you. And I think I've talked about it a little bit in the past, But he basically, I summed it up. It was kind of a longer comment, but it was sometimes a smaller generator is better than a bigger one. And you know what? That entire idea, I've got a bunch of notes written down now for a video coming up, but they're absolutely, it can absolutely be true. I mean, bigger is always better, right? At least in Texas and Alberta and things like that. But that being said, yes, I love my huge, massive tri-fuel generator that can run my entire house. Absolutely. And but that being said, love having a big generator, but sometimes a smaller one is better. And the biggest point that I can kind of point at and what they're talking about there is fuel consumption. The bigger the generator, they're always running. So even with no load, they're going to be running a ton of gas, So the bigger the generator, the more gas it's going to burn, the more fuel it's going to burn, and hence the more fuel you need to have on hand. That being said, of course, there's always a trade-off. So the smaller the generator, the less things you can run. You might have to swap out your fridge, your freezer, your sump pump, all of that. So that in between, sometimes a smaller generator is better. Sometimes a bigger generator is better. Depends on your personal situation. I'm totally fine with stockpiling a whole bunch of fuel so that we can be comfortable as a family and run everything we need other than our central air unit at this point. And maybe I'll look at upgrading something to be able to do that too. But yeah, so I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. Is a bigger generator better? Smaller generator better? But I'm definitely going to do a video on that down the road. Why? I think it's going to be something like, 5 points of why a smaller generator is better. And we'll just see. Maybe I can stir up some shit and get some people. I always love controversial topics like that to do videos on because you're always going to get a few comments that said, Tim, you're absolutely wrong. Let me tell you why. Ted said, checked out Chicken Hawk's Farmstead review on the DEWALT chainsaw. He did a good job. Excellent job. I haven't seen Hawk in here tonight, but I was really happy to see that video because I bought the 60 volt chainsaw. They're really good, but I always think in the back of my head, should I really have spent that much? So it's going to be good. I love seeing what came in the box with his 20 volt, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of the actual hands-on real world application of it down the road. Because he's going to do a follow-up video on basically that, just how it works and all of that. So over on MeWe, I am your Huckleberry said that I posted, if you guys saw again last week, or maybe it was earlier this week, the Milwaukee utility knives came on sale for $9.99 again. Awesome deal. They sold out super quick. Not saying just because I talked about it, they sold out, but that they were on a good deal, and I got them out there and they sold out quick. So anybody who managed to get one, I seen 1 or 2 people came through on the Amazon sales report that people had bought them. So they were good. Anyway, Huckleberry says, my only gripe with them, and it's one of the selling points, is the fact that they're folding. Said, therefore, they don't play well with tool pouch compartments. They tend to fall down into pockets and become difficult to access. These are good for sticking in your pants pocket when not carrying a dedicated tool belt. It still works, but I prefer a full-sized utility knife when doing heavy construction work. Said, Irwin makes a variety of good knives. So, of course, when someone disagrees with me, my first thought is, no, you're wrong. Because, ask my wife, ask my daughter, Charlotte, she's on here tonight. She'll tell you, I don't like to be wrong, or I don't like to I shouldn't say that. Anyway, I don't always, when somebody shares an opinion about a product I really like, I got to stop and think about it for a minute. And you know what? He's absolutely right. I love my folding Milwaukee fastback knife. Works incredible. It's durable. It's heavy. Well, heavy as in it works good, but they're right. When I put it in my damn tool belt, the damn thing finds its way right to the bottom. So if it's in with a bunch of nails, it goes right below all the nails. If it's in there with my snips and my tape measure and all the other stuff, it manages to find its way all the way to the bottom. Not the end of the world. It's just I'm always digging every time I need it. It's a great pocket knife. So I got thinking, I'm like, well, I need to bring in a rigid one that doesn't fold just to try it out. Now, I know Huckleberry recommended Irwin, but I really like my Milwaukee. So I did a bunch of digging. I forgot to write down the model number, but I will share it with you guys later on. I found a non-folding aluminum Milwaukee made in the same style as the fastback. I'll have a review for you. I'm going to test it out because I still have some vinyl siding to do. I'm I'm going to use it, put it in my tool belt, and see if that does solve the only, and I mean only, small issue that I have with the fastbacks. And that is, yeah, when they're folded down, they do slide down in underneath whatever else you happen to have in your tool belt. So Ken had an awesome tip over on YouTube. And if you guys don't know Ken Cornelius, look him up on MeWe. Friend him if you're over on MeWe, because he always shares some of the best tips and knowledge that I've found through here. And he said, once again, this one came out of my tips for getting your generator start. And his tip was to make sure you use good fuel, but he says he uses recreational fuel in his generator. $5 a gallon, no additives, stores much longer, and he still adds seafoam though. And that being, hey Brandon, how are you? Nice to see you. And I have to do some more digging around here, because you guys know things are a little different north of the border here in Kanakistan, or the People's Republic of Canada. So I got to dig around and see if I can find some recreational fuel. I know they sell the pre-canned stuff. It's like an alcohol. I can't exactly remember, but at the local rental store here, they do sell some of that. But I'm going to look into this recreational fuel. I don't know if any of you guys use it, but Ken really recommends it. And, it costs a little more, but it doesn't have all that junk and all the additives in it. So it's supposed to last a ton longer. And then he adds seafoam as well. And you guys know I love my seafoam. So Ted says he loves his fastback too. It stays in my pocket 24/7. I use E-swing when I'm going to need something a little sturdier. Now I got to check that out, because my go-to hammer for the last 15, 16 years, it was honestly the first buy it for life tool that I ever bought. It was like 30 or 40 bucks back in the day, but it is an East Wing. And they're good. I love them. So yeah, I'll definitely check them out. Always looking for recommendations. Yes, he did say alcohol free. Let me see what it said here. I didn't write it all down. Thanks, Ted. But yes, said there was no alcohol. I thought there was no additives I forget what the other one was, but East Wing razor knife. I got to check that out. Seriously, I didn't even know they made knives. So I got to check that out. And Joey wants to know if I like Imagine Dragons. I don't know. I want to say yes, but I can't. I know some of their songs, but I bet Charlotte, who's in here, she could tell you some of her songs that she'd like of them. But yeah, I'm more of a 90s grunge kind of guy, and an AC/DC guy, although I don't have an AC/DC shirt on tonight. But yeah, Highway to Hell, definitely. Imagine. Aren't you nice? Oh, you're a good person, aren't you? There we go. Let's just, there you go. Bye, Joey. He's gone. Or at least the message is. Put you in timeout for a little bit. There we go. Hey, guys, we must be doing something right. We ended up having somebody in here sending nasty messages, so we kind of enjoy that, don't we? All right, next one, we're going to head on to Ben from YouTube. Says to use a wire brush on spark plugs and get a gap tool. Spark plugs rarely go bad, just fouled up. So yes, absolutely. That is, yeah, I said to use emery cloth, and emery cloth works really good. And a lot of times spark plugs really don't go bad. It's pretty rare that they end up breaking or dying or something like that. So yeah, get yourself a wire brush, give them a good scrubbing. I guess that's the right word to use, right? And something I didn't mention in any of my videos, I should have grabbed one. Need a new moderator, Tim. Yep. I don't know. I guess we're doing something right if we got a troll. It was actually a pretty funny message that Joey put there. I don't know who the hell he is, but it did crack me up. So that made me good. So yeah, I will. And I'll have to figure out how to do that, Ted. And if you're volunteering, no, I know it's always late on where you're from, but yeah. So if you guys have ever seen it, it looks like an old fashioned silver dollar, and it's a spark plug gapping tool. I think I paid like $6 at my local auto parts store. They're worth their weight in gold for what they are. I don't use them often, but yeah, if you can get the fouling, the dirt, the old carbon buildup in the spark plug cleaned off, then yeah, that's all you need. That between that and the gapping tool, you should be good to go. It'll get your generator up and running, especially in a pinch, but they're worth having, period. As long as you know what the gap should be on your spark plug. Let's see. John Grohl. Did I see John in here earlier? I bet I did. Let's go back and see. No, that's John Palmer. Sorry. John Grohl over on YouTube recommended another channel. If you guys haven't checked it out, It's called Chickanic Channel. It's like chick and mechanic put together. I got her and her husband. They have a small engine repair business, and I'm always looking for different videos that can help me learn how to fix my gear and my business and all of that. So if you're looking for another recommendation there, check it out. I haven't gotten over to Chickanic yet, but if it comes from the community, it usually comes from an honest place, and it's something that they recommend and they're learning from. So I always love to share it. BFKC, I love that name, over on YouTube. Also mentioned, so you guys saw that the Milwaukee Fastback was on sale, and it was a good price, but it sold out quick. And they said if you wanted to check out Home Depot this week, $19.97 for the Milwaukee second gen knife, which I still haven't picked one of those up yet. They're really nice, and a 50 pack of utility blades. And I thought, man, if I didn't get a chance to share that with you guys, I absolutely had to. So yeah, check that out. It's just on homedepot.com. So us Canucks can't take advantage of that sale, but for you guys, who is almost everybody, hey, no worries. Now, what are we after? All right. Roblan on YouTube. Now, I thought this was pretty cool. And this came out of my follow-up review on the cordless DEWALT 60 volt trimmer. And he said, I think it's a he, looked like, yeah, he, as far as the name goes, using battery gear as a green selling point. I thought this would be something worth discussing for a minute. Maybe you guys have some ideas too, but I thought it was kind of cool. Now, I'm busy enough that I really didn't have to advertise this year. And, I didn't have to go out there looking for new lawn customers because, well, I didn't need it. It's not that, could I hire more people and do more work? Yes. But that being said, if somebody's out there looking to start up a new lawn care business, you guys know I love my DEWALT battery gear, number one. But one thing I never mentioned, at least I don't think I did in any of my why battery's better than gas videos I've done in the past, was the fact that a lot of people are looking at going green. I don't mean green like my, wallpaper back here or my green screen, but, they want to be more cautious and careful for the environment. And whatever their motivations are, the fact remains that being seen as green could make you more money, could even allow you to possibly have a premium on what you charge. So if you're looking at you're crazy not to at least try the battery gear at this point. But if you can position yourself when advertising as a green alternative, because there's no fuel, well, there's just a bunch, but no fumes, no fuel, no spills, all of that. And, apples to apples comparison, electric is better on the environment for the most part than petroleum-based products. So if you're looking at possibly getting out there and advertising and starting something up, and it's really not that much more of an investment, maybe a little more, but it isn't that much more. You could definitely advertise yourself as a green business or as a green lawn care alternative. So I also thought I shared a bunch of, just random thoughts and ideas that different community members had shared this week. And I wanted to inspire you guys a little bit too. So I get a lot of these messages from people who are out there kicking ass, taking names, starting a side hustle, or doing the whole full-time gig thing. And I know I don't always talk about that stuff on my channel as often as I used to, just simply because I have to narrow the focus down. But I wanted to share with you guys a couple of people who are kicking ass right now. Oh, PT on the rum. Anyway, just Ted's wondering where you're at. So, anyway. So this one came from Rob over on Instagram. And I thought it would be really, I wanted to share this with you. So it said, "Hey, Tim, I just got back from doing a little hustle after my day job. Did some painting, fixed a window, installed a doorknob, fixed the toilet paper holder, and much more to do. Thanks for the inspiration to get out there and do things." I said, "Thanks, Tim. While I was on the ladder painting the stairwell the other day, I could hear you talking about not overreaching and looking like Clark W. Griswold. Ended up taping the taping the brush to a broom handle to reach the spot I couldn't get from the ladder. Well, anyway, I love hearing that from Rob. There's been a bunch of people send that along, but it's just nice to hear people that are, you know, there's not a ton of people who are motivated enough to work all day long and then get off their ass and decide, I'm not going to sit down and watch Netflix tonight. I'm going to get the hell out there and I'm going to work and I'm going to make money and I'm going to build my damn freedom. And that's what he's doing. And I love hearing it. And it's not for everybody, but my God, is entrepreneurship the best thing that's ever happened to us as a family. The best thing. And so if you can take any inspiration from Rob, I love it. And then here's the next one. This one comes from Dan on MeWe. If you guys don't know Dan, he's in here sometimes. He can't always get logged into the chat, but sometimes he'll send me text messages while we're talking. I haven't got anything from him yet tonight. But when he gets in here, he's an awesome guy. He has been kicking ass and taking names. He got knocked down early on. He was doing a next door thing, sharpening knives, and all of a sudden, for no reason at all, they deleted his account on Nextdoor. Had to rebuild, didn't keep a list of his customers. That's neither here nor there. We all do stupid shit like that, so it's not your fault. Dill, just beaten and pounded, and he's having to turn work down. But he sent me this message, and he said, I'd like to send a thank you to Toolman Tim and Jack Spirko for all the inspiration. If you guys know Jack, I'm on his podcast, so this is a pretty cool message. But he said, I followed Jack since 2014, gained a ton of knowledge over the last 7 years. My life has changed because of all this inspiration. Tim has been the best mentor in helping me get my side hustle going. Because of what Tim has helped me think through, I'm moving toward financial freedom goals. I started out last summer thinking in a rewind where Jack challenged us to make $100 a week and then double it. It started with hauling dump loads. I cannot believe how easy it is and how I was able to establish a good reputation in the community. And I barely even need to advertise on Nextdoor anymore. Since starting this a year ago, anyway, he goes on to how much he clears, and he is just knocking it out of the park. And I am so friggin' proud of him. And he's at the point where he's got to turn work down because he either doesn't have time or he's too busy out there making more money that he can't do certain jobs. And like I said, if you guys are thinking about doing something, and if you're somebody that's, I know the people that tune in and watch this are, top notch and doing this kind of stuff. But if you're watching this on the recording down the road and you need some motivation, man, just listen. Tall grass better than a 20 horsepower. I don't get it. You know what? I don't know. I could sit here and pretend to give you an answer that I really know. There's got to be a whole lot more behind that. I'm going to do some digging and I'm going to find out. But yeah, that seems like one of those life's little mysteries. Like, how do they get the peanut butter inside the Reese's peanut butter cups, right? And Ted says, don't talk about knobs on YouTube either. Yes. Well, one of my favorite YouTubers, he's a British guy. He ends up doing food reviews and different things like that. He had spotted dick on the other day, which is apparently a really odd British pudding or something. Anyway, so you can just imagine all the jokes that he made out of that. But yeah, so if you guys are looking for any motivation, it does not take long to find it, and it's out there. And I've always said my superpower is doing, one or two little things every single day to make great things happen. And that is the key. I had a bunch of people quote a lot of the stuff that I said on the podcast this week, and it meant the world to me because it obviously meant the world to them. And I appreciate that. So a few cool things coming up, or some tool news I seen this week, and I don't have any more information other than about all of this. And Ted, if you've seen anything, you can chime in because Ted always knows some stuff about this. But Milwaukee announced they're putting out an 18-volt cordless mower. I wrote down mover. I should have wrote down mower. But yes, so it's going to compete with the DEWALT. I really like what I've seen. I really like. They haven't talked a whole hell of a lot about the battery setup yet. I'll let you guys know when I find out. One thing that it's going to be, apparently they're only going to offer, yeah, Ted said they did. So good. I usually defer to Ted on some of these tool announcements because he usually hears about them before I do. But there was a couple features. Number one, it's going to be self-propelled. And that's apparently the only model that's going to be out there yet. But what I really like about it is apparently a one-touch blade height adjustment. So my DEWALT's awesome. I love it, but I have to adjust two, front and back. At least it's better than my gas push jobby that I have to adjust all four. But apparently the Milwaukee's going to have the one-touch one. So I love that. It's great. When I find out more, if they talk more about what kind of battery it's going to use or what kind of size battery it's going to ship with, all of that kind of stuff. And it's a 3-in-1 just like the DEWALT. So I mentioned a little bit in passing, we got a bunch of improvements coming in the live streaming end of things. First off, you'll see a new backdrop coming soon. I'm really glad that this camera and microphone combination is working out. I knew it would every week, and you compound that over a year, man, you can kick ass. So, but the big thing about getting better is sometimes you try stuff and you fall flat on your face. And that's, like if you go back and look at my very first live stream that was about 10 minutes long, I just kind of rambled on to myself, didn't have much to talk about. And it's all about learning, right? So, you guys remember that old movie, What About Bob? And he goes and he sees his psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist says, Bob, you got to use baby steps. So then every time he goes somewhere, it's baby steps out the door, baby steps down the stairs, baby steps out the driveway. And that's what it is. It's just a matter of, like I said, small incremental improvements on a daily basis over a year makes incredible results. So the changes, like I said, you'll get used to it. All my other videos will be the normal out in the shop, in the studio space. But down here, I'm going to try to make it a little cozier. I got my black screen coming. Hopefully I'll have my signage that I can put back here. And so we got the new webcam. We got the better podcast mic coming. I'm going to be using StreamYard. So we're going to be having multiple streams at the same time, which is really cool, which is my really, really awesome announcement here in just a minute. But you'll be able to follow me. Of course, it's always going to be on YouTube. But also, I'm going to multi-stream over. I don't know if that's the right term or not. But anyway. Simulcast. There, that sounds really important, doesn't it? Simulcast on YouTube, Odyssey, and Float all at the same time. So I'm going to be doing some testing this week to figure all of that out. I've been using StreamYard for a while. Me and the kids and the wife have been, we'd been playing with this about a month ago, and it worked really well. And now I'm going to push it out there in the real world and see how well this try streaming thing works, because I've got a fairly big audience over on Float. A pretty good size audience on Odyssey as well. So I'd love for everybody over there to be able to interact with us at the same time. I think that'd be really cool. Now, I'm going to respond to Brandon before I tell you the next big announcement. So he said, you might appreciate this tip for Craftsman mower that won't stay height adjusted. I tried using a stop to hold it. Doesn't work. Shim it. It will tighten again with increase in girth. I would almost have to see pictures of that, Brandon, to figure that out. But that's okay. I don't know. I have troubles with my push mowers at the best of times. I beat and pound and I beat them to death. Even my zero turn I've had for exactly 2 summers, just over a year I bought it, and I have beat that thing. I beat the piss right out of it. I've got a crack in the deck. I got an oil leak. Anyway, I work it well. I have more than made its money back. It's going to be time to get a better one next year. And my wife always gets after me to buy bigger and better tools. Anyway, that's why I love her so much. I think she might be watching tonight. And if she is, hi, sweetie. But yeah, so anyway, mowers, love them, hate them. They always cost me money, but they always make me money too. Okay, so the next big thing is we're going to have on the channel here my first ever guest next Sunday night on Talking Tools live stream, and it's somebody you guys all know. It's going to be Joseph Mills from Mills Construction. He's going to come on. He's going to tell a bit of his story, and he's going to share his 5 favorite hand tools with you guys. So him and I are going to do some tests this week. I'm really excited about it. We're going to make sure we don't look like absolute idiots and that sort of thing. And it's going to be great. I love the idea. I think it's going to work really, really well. Says we got chat disconnected here for a minute. We'll see what's going on, but that's okay. We'll just run a test here, see if it shows up. And yeah, so basically it's going to be what I've been talking about all along, and that we're going to have guests on here once a month at least. I'd love to get into having maybe 3 or 4 of us all together doing a chat. But next week, Joseph's going to be the very first inaugural guest on Talking Tools live stream. I don't even know what we're going to call it yet, but it's going to work. There we go. Yes, Hyrith says hello. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So it's going to be awesome. He was excited. I'm excited. We're both nervous like little school kids because, again, it's something new that we're going to test and learn and grow from. So if there's any, growing pains, you guys are always patient with me, and I appreciate it. This worked really well. This was my next step into it. He's going to test his setup this week. We're going to do a couple of live stream tests. So if you happen to see some kind of weird live stream, feel free to drop by, and it'll be unannounced when we test it. And if I can make it work, I'm even going to try to stream it to my other 2 platforms at the same time. And if that doesn't happen, it'll be the week after. But yes, so next Sunday, Joseph's going to be the first guest appearance on the workshop Talking Tools live stream. I'm pretty excited about that. Before I logged in, I haven't checked in a little bit. We're getting really, really close to a milestone in the workshop. We are at 1,993 subscribers. Today's been a really good day. So hopefully by the end of the day tomorrow, we should hit a milestone that I never thought. Well, no, it's not that I didn't think I would, but I thought it was, it was coming eventually, but it's still pretty exciting. So we're going to be at 2,000 subscribers. Haven't decided if I'm going to do anything special yet. I was thinking about maybe doing a Q&A session, but we did one tonight, so we'll call it that. But so we're almost at the 2,000 subscriber milestone. I wouldn't be there if it weren't for you guys. It's awesome. It took me 15 months to hit the first 1,000. Took me 3 months to hit the next 500, and it looks like 2 months to hit the next 500. So it is awesome, and I appreciate it, guys. You're actually allowing me to make a little bit of money off this content creation thing. I'm above where my goal was, already. I'm really excited. Let's see if we can hit 5,000 at the 2-year anniversary mark of the channel, which will be the end of February next year. We'll see. If we don't, we don't. But the way we're growing, I'm tickled pink about it. So I got all these old man sayings that I love to say. What else? So this week, if you guys haven't listened to it yet, you can run by and check out. I was on the Survival Podcast. I always do, the weekly, or quite often the expert counsel segments. But this week I got to get on and do a full 1-hour interview with Jack. I shared my thoughts about becoming a content creator in 2021. I was really going to say 2001. What the hell's wrong with me tonight? Had an awesome time and got some really good feedback from the community, some really good engagement, big subscriber bump on the YouTube channel. But the biggest thing was how much traffic came through on the website. So it was really cool. We got a lot of people incoming. It's nice when every time you can get a chance. And that being said, if you guys know of any other podcasts you think maybe would be a good fit for me, I'd love to get on. I'm shooting for maybe 2 or 3, maybe between now and the end of the year anyway. But I wouldn't mind getting on 5 or 6 a year, at least to get started, and just get out there and have a chat, Let's see. Who else? Oh, yeah. I wanted to let you guys know, if you haven't heard of Kerry Brown, every week I'm going to try to spotlight at least one community member. And he's around a lot. He interacts with me. He sent me a few questions, just kind of kicking around some different scenarios that he's worked out in his handyman business. But he sent me a link this week to his brand new Strong Roots Resources. Try to say that 10 times fast. Instagram page. When I'm all said and done, I'll go back through here and I'll try to post some of this stuff in the comments or in the description for you. But if you haven't, check out Strong Roots Resources. He's an awesome guy. He does permaculture style assessments for properties down in the Tennessee area. So that may not affect you or I a whole lot, but he's just a really cool guy who walked away from being an EMT to be self-employed, running a handyman landscaping business. And I listened to him on Nicole Sauce's podcast a few months back. I think it was in late winter. And he told a story about giving up drinking. And, he didn't tell it to let people be like, to be one of them guys that says everyone needs to quit drinking. But he told his story about how it had become an issue for him and how his willpower, mind over matter, and doing the small things day in and day out has made his life a hell of a lot better. So anyway, if you got a minute, check out Strong Roots Resources over on Instagram. What else? Oh, Chicken Hawk. I know we talked about it already, but if you haven't checked out his video this week, I loved his review on the 20-volt DEWALT chainsaw. I loved it enough. I shared it across social because it's awesome. I love it. He had mentioned a while back that we should do a community DEWALT playlist. I would love to put one of those together. I just never think of it or haven't gotten around to it. So if that's something someone else is interested in doing and we can figure out a way to make that work, it would be awesome. But I'd love to have a whole bunch of different community members who do tool reviews or just your recommended DEWALT videos, and we can put them all together as a community sourced playlist. I would love to do that. And Joseph did a pretty cool video, if you haven't watched his yet, on Swiss made ratcheting screwdrivers, and he bought them from thetoollator.com. They were Anyway, you can listen to him gush about the Swiss-made ratcheting screwdrivers, but they're awesome. So every week I'm going to try to do a recap of different community members who are attached to here and basically what they're talking about, some really cool highlights, just so you guys have an idea of what else is out there. And if you guys are, and if I look a little extra tired this week, I probably am a little, but me and the missus, we took our twins and my 8-year-old nephew. We went away for the weekend and we had an awesome time. We went to the West Edmonton Mall, which is the second biggest mall in North America. And we spent a day at the indoor amusement park, another day at the indoor water park. We had an awesome time. I was reminded on multiple occasions how I'm not 25 anymore and I'm 40, and how beaten and pounded myself on water slides and in wave pools is just a little bit harder than it used to be. But it was awesome. I love being away with the family. We've taken a lot of those mini vacations this summer. And yeah, Charlotte's in here. That's Hyreth there. And we had an awesome time. And then something really cool, and we might turn this into a little bit of content too, but my other daughter, Alice, is huge into MREs, and that's those, the military meals. So we went to an Army surplus store in the city on the weekend, and we picked up a case of MREs. And anyway, we tested out the first one tonight. And if you guys want to see, we didn't do a video this time just because I didn't know if they're going to taste like shit or if they're going to be good or whatever. Anyway, we might post some of them just over on the Odyssey account, just because it doesn't really fit in over here, but it's a lot of fun. Or maybe we'll just put it on social. But if you guys haven't ever tried MREs before, these are pretty cool. They're the Canadian one meal military meals, and they're a lot of fun. This one was awesome, but I don't want to spoil it for you. But anyway, Alice, she loves them. So I wanted to do it with her as well. And we had a lot of fun with it. So it was pretty cool. And I guess she's watching too. So, hey, Alex, I love you. So yeah, I guess I had more notes tonight than I thought I did. But yeah, Ted says, hi, Al. I guess you can see the chat, can't you? So I'm glad this worked a little bit better than I maybe expected it to. This new gear's working good. I don't know. How about everybody else? How's your guys' week gone this week? Have you had any big successes, any big failures, anything crazy like that? Because I always love hearing about it. And I think my voice is going away, so that's okay too. But yeah, we had an awesome time in the city for the weekend. Me and the missus are gonna try to get another weekend away before too long, but it's back to the grind this week, starting tomorrow. It's got a full week's worth of work. Probably got a couple of weeks worth of work coming up, which I'm excited about. Got a bunch of tools to spend some more time playing with so I can get some more reviews for you. I hope a couple more things show up soon so that I can get reviews done in time for next month's content. I got about 2 more weeks, and then I'm going to start putting all the videos together for you guys for next month. But you'll see that electric wood price. Yeah, I haven't got an extended vacation to TS. I bet you I'm missing something. TS Fred. I'm probably missing that, and I'm probably being stupid. But so I've noticed, Brandon, that the wood price is finally falling as well, at least on some stuff. Of course, around here, it's funny how if they have plywood in stock and the price goes up, the price goes up. You know what I mean? Even though they already bought it at the lower price. But when the price comes down, the story's always the same. Oh, Tropical Storm Fred. I didn't hear about that. Oh, and you guys held up good down there. I hope anyway. I know I've seen some pictures. I didn't see if you posted anything of any damage or anything, but I'm glad you were okay because you're obviously here and you have internet. But yes, Brandon, I did notice wood prices are coming down. But like I said, hey, the price goes up immediately, but then the price doesn't come down until they get new inventory. And I used to sell building supplies. I know the song and dance. I know how it works, but damn it, I would love to see the prices come back down. I have to find time this week to build a 16 by 24 on the ground deck for our backyard because we got a hot tub coming. I'm pretty excited. Actually, my wife's even more excited than I am. But that being said, I'll probably post some pictures, maybe a couple of quick videos of stuff I'm doing. But I'm glad that prices have come down a little bit. Although pressure treated hasn't seemed to come down like the studs and the 2x6s around here. But it is what it is. But hasn't hit yet. Getting here tomorrow. Didn't want to risk drive. Yeah, I grew up on the East Coast in Nova Scotia, so we didn't have very many hurricanes, but we would get tropical depressions or post-tropical storms come through there quite often. We did have Hurricane Juan back in 2003, 3, I want to say. It was massive. It was pretty rare that a hurricane actually made it all the way to Nova Scotia and hit land there. But it was a good, it was a good storm, a lot of flooding, a lot of big trees lost, but we never ever get it, of course, as bad as you guys do down in Florida, Ted. I guess that's, how it works, right? But it's always a trade-off. You get good weather, you live in the beautiful temperate areas, and they seem to be the places that you end up getting the worst, kind of craziest weather. And I don't know if you guys saw, but it sounded like Haiti got a pretty nasty earthquake again the other day. I hope it wasn't as bad as the last one, but I know they haven't even fully recovered from that. But hopefully, what are they saying, Ted, as far as the forecast goes? Is it going to hit where you are or kind of miss you? Because if I remember, you're almost right down to the bottom, aren't you? Or getting pretty low there? I try to stay away from the news the best I can, which means I don't usually find out about Hurricane Sally destroyed the place I'm at last year. Prayers. Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. And they were able to rebuild that quick. So, or at least, somewhat, but it just seems like we've had a lot of nasty hurricanes and a lot of nasty weather the last few years, but hopefully you stay safe, Ted. I don't know. Does it look like it's a fairly fast moving? I hope it goes over you pretty quick and doesn't do a whole hell of a lot of damage, but I guess it's a way of life living down there, And yeah, as far as us today, not that it's nearly as bad, but today's the last day of the 90-degree temperatures. We're, I think as far as that goes, we're going to be beyond the really hot. We've already started seeing some leaves fall here, which if you guys probably think that's absolutely insane, but yeah, we are heading into autumn really quick here, which is cool. I love that time of year because it's, there's a lot of money to be made there, but the weather changes, which means it's going to be coming down to the cold really quick. So Ted says he's at his vacation house right now. Should just be a lot of rain. Well, that's good. Post a couple of reels on Instagram. I'd love to see some of the crazy rain you get, as long as you can stay safe, of course. And yeah, just stay safe, because I've been through some nasty weather in the wintertime, especially. We used to get nasty blizzards out east, and we get nasty wind out here, but nothing like you guys get. So yeah, all I can say is stay safe, Ted. And I seen you sent me an IM on Instagram too. I'll check it out here in a minute. But yeah, it's crazy. All right, guys, 55 minutes. I almost hit an hour this week, but my voice is going, and which is not a bad thing. I like the sound of my own voice enough that I love to get on here and talk to you guys, which is always fun. I can't wait for next week. So don't forget about next week. We got Joseph coming up. I'm super stoked about having my first guest. We'll see what happens. It's going to go well. I'm going to knock it out of the park. And yeah, you too, Ted. All right, guys, I'm going to call it there. Well, like I said, we just about hit 55 minutes. So everybody stay safe if you're anywhere near this bad weather coming through. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Take care, guys. Thanks again, guys, for dropping by the weekly workshop. A new edition drops every week, so keep an eye out. And if you're looking for a solution to such problems as I spilled paint on vinyl siding, or I can't get this heavy picture to stay on the wall, stop by toolmantim.co and check out the Today's Tool section, where I share products and tools that have either made me money or saved me money personally or in my long-running year-round handyman business. And if you found value in this content, please take a moment and share it on your social platform of choice. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.